Leah had always thought her life was ordinary. Work, friends, and quiet nights in the city she knew so well. But everything changed when a mysterious stranger appeared in her life, claiming that she held the key to saving not just her world, but another, one on the brink of destruction. She didn't believe him. How could she? Yet, the pull she felt toward him, the strange power awakening inside her, couldn't be ignored. What if the life she knew was nothing more than an illusion? As she struggles to understand the truth of her power, Leah must face the terrifying question: is she ready to change everything, or will it all crumble around her? The clock is ticking, and she's running out of time. Would you trust the impossible if it meant saving the world? Before we start, please subscribe to the channel by clicking the card button on the top right corner and hitting the notification bell so you can get amazing daily stories as and when published. Please do comment your views about the story or any topic that you want to get a story on. We'll make it happen. Let's dive in the story. It was the kind of evening that made the city feel alive. Neon lights flickering against the dark sky, the hum of traffic in the distance, and the occasional sound of hurried footsteps. But for Leah Hunter, the night seemed eerily quiet. She just finished a long day at her office in downtown Los Angeles, a high-rise building where everything felt predictable, safe, and sterile. Yet, tonight, something felt different. She stepped out of the elevator, the sound of her heels clicking sharply against the polished marble floor. The air outside was cool and crisp, brushing against her skin as she wrapped her coat tighter around her body. The city was busy as usual, but Leah couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. It was subtle at first, just a strange prickle at the back of her neck, but it grew stronger with every step she took down the street. She glanced over her shoulder, but saw nothing unusual. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement. A figure. A man. He was standing in the shadows of an alleyway, barely visible in the dim light, his face partially obscured by the collar of his dark coat. Leah's heart skipped a beat. She instinctively quickened her pace, her gaze fixed straight ahead, but the man stepped forward, blocking her path. His presence seemed to absorb the surrounding light, as if he were part of the darkness itself. Leah Hunter? His voice was soft but deep, like velvet, and it sent a chill down her spine. Leah froze, her breath catching in her throat. How'd he know her name? She scanned his face, but his features were too obscured by shadows to make out clearly. Still, there was something about him that felt unsettlingly familiar. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to sound confident, but her voice betrayed her, wavering slightly. The man didn't immediately answer. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, his amber eyes glowing faintly in the dim streetlight. Leah noticed his gaze never left hers, intense and piercing, as if he could see right through her. A strange sense of déjà vu washed over her, but she couldn't place it. "I've been waiting for you," he said, his voice almost hypnotic. Leah felt a flutter of panic in her chest. "What do you want?" Her words came out sharper than she intended, but she couldn't help it. Something about him made her feel both drawn in and repelled at the same time. The man's lips curled into a small, enigmatic smile, though it wasn't comforting in the slightest. "I want you to come with me." He took a slow step forward, his eyes never leaving hers. "It's important." Leah's heart raced. She could feel the weight of his presence, the palpable tension between them. She wanted to run, turn around, and disappear into the crowd, but her body wouldn't move. Her legs felt as if they were cemented in place, her mind clouded by an overwhelming curiosity and an odd, unexplained pull toward the stranger. "Why me?" Leah managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper, despite the pounding of her heart. The man took another step closer, closing the distance between them. He was now standing inches away from her, his presence overwhelming, suffocating almost. "You're the one I've been looking for," he said, his voice soft but urgent. "I need you." Leah's pulse quickened, and for the briefest moment, she considered turning and running, but her instincts told her to stay. There was something about this man, his touch, his voice, that held her in place, something magnetic, like she was meant to be here. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. "What do you want me to do?" His gaze softened, and for a fleeting moment, she saw something in his eyes, a glimmer of something deep, something ancient. "Everything," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Everything you've ever wanted, and more." Leah stared at him, confused, afraid, and yet strangely captivated. Something about him was drawing her in, compelling her to trust him, even though every logical part of her screamed to walk away. "I don't know you," she said, her voice shaky, but the words felt hollow, meaningless in the face of his gaze. "You will," he replied, his eyes flickering with an intensity she couldn't describe. "You will, Leah." Without thinking, without fully understanding why, she found herself taking a step closer to him, her feet moving of their own accord. His eyes never left hers, and the world around them seemed to disappear, fading into the background as if they were the only two people in existence. The man's lips parted as if to speak again, but before he could, Leah's phone buzzed in her bag. The sudden noise broke the tension, and for the first time, Leah seemed to snap back into reality. She pulled away slightly, her heart still racing, her body still caught in the strange grip of his presence. "Who are you?" she demanded again, her voice firmer this time. The man didn't answer right away. He looked down at her with something almost like pity in his eyes, and for a moment, Leah thought he might walk away. But instead, he stepped even closer, his hand extending toward her, fingers elongated and graceful. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, "but I need you to trust me." Her breath caught in her throat as she looked at his outstretched hand. She knew this was it. She could walk away now, pretend like nothing had happened, or she could reach out and see where this strange path would lead. Her mind screamed at her to leave, to get out of there and never look back. But her heart, her gut, was telling her something entirely different. Without another word, she reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against his. In that moment, everything changed. The next morning, Leah woke up with a strange, unsettling feeling that refused to leave her. Her alarm blared in her ear, pulling her out of a dream she couldn't quite remember. But the sensation lingered, like a shadow clinging to her, casting a veil over everything she did. The memory of the man, the way his touch had felt, was so vivid it was almost impossible to dismiss. She stared at the ceiling, the events of the night before flashing in her mind like a reel of film. What had happened? She couldn't even explain it to herself, let alone to anyone else. Sitting up in bed, she glanced over at the clock. It was already late. Her work at the design firm would start soon, and Leah knew she had to get moving. But as she swung her legs over the side of the bed, her mind kept drifting back to that moment, his amber eyes, the way he'd said her name. "Leah," his voice echoed in her ears. "I've been waiting for you." She shook her head, trying to shake off the bizarre thoughts. Maybe it was just a dream, a strange encounter, but it didn't feel like one. At the office, everything seemed to move in slow motion. Leah tried to focus on her projects, but the unsettling memory of that stranger lingered, pulling her attention away every few seconds. She had to admit it. Something about him had captured her, in a way she couldn't explain. Every time she thought about it, her stomach did a strange flip, a mix of fear and excitement. Around noon, as she stepped out for a quick lunch break, the familiar buzz of her phone snapped her out of her thoughts. It was a message from her best friend, Nicole. "Hey, are we still on for tonight? I found this great new bar near 4th Street. Let's do something fun." Leah stared at the message for a moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. But just as she was about to reply, her phone vibrated again. "Leah." The text was brief, no name attached, just the single word. Her heart skipped a beat. She glanced around, half expecting to see someone watching her. but there was no one in sight, and the busy street outside was as bustling as ever. Still, the timing of the message made her pulse quicken. She checked the sender. It was from an unknown number. She texted back quickly, her fingers trembling. "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "It's me. We need to talk." Her breath caught. She wanted to ignore it, to tell herself it was some prank or mistake, but the urgency of the message gnawed at her. Without thinking, she typed back, "Where?" "The park on 7th and Wilshire, in 1 hour. Don't tell anyone." Leah stared at the screen for what felt like forever, her mind racing. She wanted to dismiss it, pretend like it didn't matter, but she couldn't. Something inside her told her that she had to go, that she was being pulled into something much larger than she could comprehend. But why? Why her? With a heavy sigh, she shoved her phone back in her bag and headed toward the park, trying to shake the unease building in her chest. The park on 7th and Wilshire wasn't far, but the closer she got, the more her anxiety grew. The world around her seemed to blur, her thoughts scattering like leaves in the wind. By the time she reached the entrance to the park, her palms were sweating. The park was unusually quiet for this time of day, the typical sounds of children playing and people chatting absent. Leah scanned the area, her eyes darting from one shadowed corner to another. She stepped further into the park, her footsteps muffled by the soft grass beneath her shoes. The trees loomed over her like silent sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. There, at the far side of the park, she saw him. Talon. He was standing in the shadows again, the same dark coat he wore last night hanging loosely on his tall frame. His amber eyes gleamed in the dim light, locking onto hers as though he had been waiting for her to arrive. Leah's heart raced as she took a cautious step toward him, her instincts screaming to turn around and leave. But again, she couldn't. "You came," Talon said, his voice smooth, his tone almost appreciative. "Of course I came," Leah replied, her voice sharp with a mixture of irritation and confusion. "What is this? What do you want from me?" Talon's expression softened, almost as if he had expected this response. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, stepping closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "I need your help." Leah frowned. "Help? With what?" "I've been looking for someone like you," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "You're the key." "The key to what?" Leah demanded, crossing her arms in front of her defensively. Talon hesitated for a moment before answering, his voice quieter. "The key to saving this world." Leah stared at him, disbelief written all over her face. "Saving the world? You're out of your mind." His expression remained calm, though his eyes flashed with an intensity that made Leah's stomach churn. "I'm not crazy, Leah, and neither are you. You're part of something bigger. You always have been." She took a step back, shaking her head. "I don't know what you're talking about. You need to leave me alone." Talon didn't move. "I can't. We don't have time. There's more at stake than you realize." Leah's mind raced. She wanted to run, to get away from this strange man who somehow knew her name, her every move. But despite herself, she was still drawn to him, as if his words, his presence, were more than just a mere coincidence. "I don't know what you're involved in," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger, "but I want no part of it." Talon's eyes softened, but his gaze remained unyielding. "You already have a part, Leah. You just don't know it yet." And with those words, the world around her seemed to shift, and the feeling of inevitability closed in. Leah couldn't shake the feeling that everything around her was spiraling into something she didn't understand. The park, the shadows, and Talon, his voice, his words, still echoed in her mind. She hadn't expected him to follow her after their encounter, but he did. He was there, always present in the background, his amber eyes haunting her thoughts even during the mundane moments of her day. Her life had become a blur of normalcy, overshadowed by an inexplicable sense of dread. The office felt suffocating, the air thick with tension she couldn't explain. And yet, every time she looked out the window, His figure seemed to be just out of sight, lingering like a shadow in her periphery. It was the following night when he reached out again. The text came unexpectedly. "Meet me." Leah had barely glanced at her phone when she felt the familiar knot of anxiety twist in her stomach. He was persistent, always drawing her back into his orbit. Her hand shook as she typed a reply. "Where?" "The rooftop of your building." Her fingers hovered over the keys. She could ignore him, pretend he didn't exist, but she knew deep down she couldn't. Not yet. She didn't understand what was happening to her, but she needed to know more, even if it terrified her. Without another word, she grabbed her jacket, forced herself to calm down, and left her apartment. The elevator ride up to the rooftop felt too long, the walls closing in around her as she tried to steady her breathing. The doors opened with a soft chime, and Leah stepped into the cool night air, her eyes scanning the rooftop. And there he was. Talon stood at the edge, looking out over the city, his coat billowing gently in the breeze. The moment Leah stepped forward, his head turned toward her, and his amber eyes locked onto hers. There was no surprise in his expression, only an unspoken understanding. "I wasn't sure you would come," Talon said, his voice low and measured. Leah swallowed hard, trying to push away the growing unease in her chest. "I don't know why I did," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Talon stepped toward her, his gaze softening as he approached. "Because, deep down, you can't walk away from this. You've already crossed the line." Leah flinched. "Cross what line?" Her breath caught in her throat. "I don't even know what you want from me, Talon." His expression didn't change, but there was a flicker of something, regret, maybe, that passed across his features. "I never wanted to put you in this position, but you've been chosen, Leah. You're part of something greater than yourself, something that's been waiting for you." Leah stepped back, her chest tightening as a wave of panic washed over her. "No, I'm not. I don't want to be a part of whatever this is." Talon didn't move, his eyes fixed on her with a quiet intensity. "You don't have a choice. You never did. The energy inside you, it's the key to everything. To saving my people, to saving this world. But first, you need to understand who you truly are." Leah's legs felt weak. "Who I am," she repeated, her mind spinning. "I don't even know who you are. What are you talking about? What's all this nonsense about saving the world?" Talon's gaze softened, and for the first time since she'd met him, there was a flicker of something almost human in his eyes. "I know this is hard to believe, but everything you know, everything you've ever known, it's all connected. You and I are not as different as you think." Leah's heart pounded in her chest. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath, the wind carrying the words across the rooftop. "I'm not from here. I come from a distant world, a world on the brink of destruction. And you, Leah, you are the key to saving it. Your connection to the energy, to the power hidden inside you. It's the only way to prevent the collapse of my world and this one." She shook her head, feeling like she was drowning in confusion. "This is crazy. You're crazy. I know it sounds impossible," Talon said softly, taking a step toward her. "But it's the truth. I didn't come here for nothing. I came for you." Leah's mind reeled. She couldn't understand it, couldn't understand him. But somehow, deep down, a part of her knew he was telling the truth. Something in her had already known all along, even if she didn't want to face it. "I don't understand," she said again, her voice barely audible. Talon's face softened, his eyes full of quiet resolve. "I never expected you to, but you will in time. Everything that's happening, everything that's about to unfold, it's already in motion." Leah could feel her chest tightening, the weight of his words pressing down on her. She wanted to run, to escape this twisted reality, but she couldn't. Not anymore. There was too much at stake. And something inside her, something deep and undeniable, told her that her destiny was tied to this man, to whatever impossible future he was dragging her toward. "You're not leaving, are you?" Talon asked, his voice laced with a gentle sadness. Leah looked up at him, her heart heavy, her mind a storm of uncertainty. "I don't know how to leave anymore," she whispered. Talon's lips twitched into a faint, almost mournful smile. "Then come with me. It's time to see what you're truly capable of." And with those words, Leah stepped into the unknown, no longer able to resist the force pulling her toward a future she couldn't yet comprehend. The days following that night on the rooftop were a blur for Leah. She barely slept, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear, and every time she closed her eyes, the image of Talon's amber gaze haunted her. Despite her better judgment, something inside her told her that he was right. The world she thought she knew was unraveling, and she couldn't escape it. Her life, once ordinary and predictable, now felt fragile, like a house of cards ready to collapse at any moment. At work, her colleagues had started noticing the change in her. Her usual sharp focus had become scattered, her thoughts constantly drifting back to the strange man who claimed to know her better than she knew herself. Leah's phone buzzed on her desk, snapping her back to reality. She glanced at the screen, her heart skipping when she saw a message from Talon. "Meet me tonight. I'll explain everything." She hadn't heard from him since the rooftop, but every time she tried to forget about him, he seemed to reappear. She knew she couldn't avoid this any longer. Hesitantly, she typed back, "Where?" "My place." Midnight. Her stomach churned as she set the phone down, her thoughts racing. She couldn't go back to the rooftop again, couldn't keep letting this strange man pull her deeper into his world. But no matter how hard she tried, she knew she would. She had no choice. By the time midnight rolled around, Leah stood in front of the building Talon had mentioned, an imposing structure tucked away in a quiet part of the city. The air was thick with tension as she pressed the intercom, hearing the soft click of the lock before the door swung open. She hesitated for only a moment before stepping inside. The building's interior was stark, minimalist, with polished concrete floors and dim lighting that created an unsettling atmosphere. As she walked down the hallway, every step felt like it echoed in the empty space. When she reached the door at the end of the hall, it opened before she could knock, and Talon stood there, his expression unreadable. "You came," he said quietly, stepping aside to let her in. Leah nodded, her heart racing. "I don't know why," she confessed, her voice trembling despite herself. "You came because you have no choice," Talon replied softly. "You're already involved. It's bigger than both of us, and now there's no turning back." Leah swallowed, trying to make sense of his words. "What do you mean, no turning back? I never agreed to any of this." Talon's gaze softened, and he closed the door behind her. "I know, but the choice was made for you long before I ever found you. And now, we need to prepare. The power you have inside you, it's awakening." Leah's breath caught in her throat. "Power? What are you talking about? I'm just me. There's nothing special about me." "You've always been special," Talon said, his voice steady but insistent. "You just didn't know it. That's what I've been trying to show you. What I've been waiting for." Leah shook her head, the weight of his words pressing down on her like a physical force. "I don't understand. How could anyone be special in this way?" Talon took a step closer, his amber eyes fixed on hers. "Because you're the key, Leah. The key to everything. The energy that courses through you. It's something ancient, something beyond this world." She recoiled slightly. "I don't want to be part of any of this. You're talking about things I can't even begin to understand." He reached out slowly, placing a hand on her shoulder. His touch, though gentle, felt charged with an unfamiliar energy. "I didn't want this for you either. But now, it's a matter of survival. Your world and mine are on the brink of destruction, and you're the only one who can stop it." Leah's heart pounded in her chest as she pulled away from him, shaking her head. "I don't believe you. This is all insane. I'm just a regular person. There's nothing special about me." Talon's face hardened for a moment, and for the first time, Leah saw a flash of something darker in his eyes. You're not just anyone, Leah. You've always been different, even if you didn't know it. That's why I found you. That's why I've been waiting. Leah stepped back, panic rising in her chest. What are you talking about? You're saying I have power? What does that even mean? It means, Talon began, his voice calm yet firm, that you are the one who will decide the fate of both our worlds. You have the ability to unlock what's been hidden for centuries, and only you can do it. Leah stumbled backward, her mind racing. I can't do this. I'm not the one you need. There has to be someone else. There is no one else, Talon said, his voice softening with undeniable urgency. You are the only one who can help us. And time is running out. Leah's chest tightened, her thoughts spiraling into confusion. The world she had known, her ordinary life, was slipping through her fingers, and in its place was a reality she couldn't comprehend. Everything she had believed was about to shatter, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Talon's gaze was unwavering as he answered. I want you to embrace what you are, Leah. I want you to help me save everything before it's too late. And with that, the weight of her decision hung in the air like an unbearable silence. She was already too deep to back out now. But the question remained, would she be able to accept the truth? Leah couldn't breathe. The walls of Talon's apartment, or whatever it was, seemed to close in on her. His words echoed in her mind like a relentless drumbeat. You're the key, Leah. You are the only one who can save both our worlds. The idea seemed impossible. She wasn't special. She was just a woman trying to live her life in a city that never slowed down. And yet, Talon kept telling her otherwise, that she was part of something much bigger, something that had been waiting for her all her life. She paced the room, trying to clear her head. This can't be real, she muttered to herself. This can't be happening. Talon watched her quietly from the shadows of the room, his gaze unwavering. I know it's a lot to take in, he said softly, but it's the truth. You were chosen, Leah. I didn't pick you, this is fate. Leah stopped pacing and turned to face him, her chest tight with frustration. Chosen for what? To save the world? I'm not even sure I believe in any of this. You talk about power, about energy. What does it all mean? Talon stepped forward, his face serious. It means that inside you is something ancient, something that was put there long before you were born. You have the ability to access that power, but you haven't learned how to use it yet. She shook her head, disbelief written across her face. No way. I'm just me. There's nothing special about me. I don't have any powers. You do, Talon insisted, his voice gentle but firm, and you will learn to control it. But time is running out, Leah. The energy you carry, it's the only thing that can stop what's coming. Leah took a step back, her mind racing. What's coming? What are you talking about? What's going to happen? Talon's expression darkened, and his eyes flickered with something she hadn't seen before. Something deeper, more urgent. The collapse is imminent. My world is dying, Leah. The energy it once had, everything that kept it alive, is failing. And if it falls, if we don't stop it, it will take your world with it. Leah's stomach churned at the words, but she refused to let her fear show. And you want me to stop it? With what? Some power I don't even understand. Talon nodded slowly. Yes, you have the ability to harness the energy inside you, but you've been suppressing it. I can help you unlock it, but you need to trust me. I don't trust you, Leah spat, the words coming out harsher than she intended. How can I? You're asking me to believe in things that sound completely insane. Talon's eyes softened, but there was a sadness in them that made Leah feel guilty for snapping at him. I don't want you to trust me blindly, but you have to trust what you feel. The connection between us is real. You felt it too. Leah's heart fluttered at his words. She had felt it. She couldn't deny that. The pull toward him, the way her body seemed to respond to his presence, to his touch. But it didn't make sense. None of it did. I don't know if I can do this, she said quietly, more to herself than to him. I'm just one person. How can I change anything? You can't, Talon replied, his voice soft but unwavering. "You're the key, Leah. Don't doubt yourself." Leah closed her eyes for a moment, trying to focus, to make sense of the madness swirling in her mind. "What happens if I don't do anything? If I walk away?" Talon's expression became more serious, almost grim. "If you walk away, then everything will fall apart. Your world, my world, everything destroyed. There's no escaping it. We're past the point of no return." Leah's heart slammed against her ribcage, the weight of his words sinking in. Her entire reality was being upended in ways she couldn't comprehend. And the idea of turning her back on everything, on the world, on Talon, on the truth he was telling her, was impossible. But fear still gripped her chest, tightening with each breath. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," she whispered, more to herself than to Talon. Talon moved closer, his voice low and soothing. "You don't have to know everything right now. Just know that you're not alone. I'm here to help you, Leah. I always will be." Leah looked into his eyes, searching for the truth in them, the reassurance she so desperately needed. And for the first time, she didn't feel the need to pull away from him. Maybe, just maybe, this was the path she was meant to follow. She took a deep breath, her pulse still racing, but with a sense of resolve settling over her. "Okay," she said, her voice trembling but stronger than before. "I'll trust you, but you need to teach me. I need to understand how to use this power." Talon's eyes lit up, the faintest smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "We'll start tonight. It's time you learned what you're truly capable of." As Leah nodded, a strange sense of calm washed over her. She was scared, yes, but she was also ready. Whatever came next, she couldn't ignore it. There was no turning back now. Leah woke up the next morning feeling like a different person, yet not quite different enough to escape the storm of uncertainty brewing inside her. The power that Talon spoke of, the energy within her, still seemed impossible to believe, but every instinct told her it was real. Her heart pounded at the thought of it. How could something so grand be inside her, waiting to be unlocked? She glanced at the window, watching the sunlight creep over the horizon. Everything felt distant, unreal. The day passed in a blur. She tried to focus at work, but every word her boss said, every email she sent, felt like it was coming from someone else. The world around her was moving in slow motion, while her thoughts raced at lightning speed. She couldn't ignore what Talon had told her. She couldn't pretend she hadn't felt the pull, that strange magnetism between them. She had no more. That night, Talon came to her again. This time, he didn't ask her to meet him somewhere new. He came to her apartment. She opened the door to find him standing there, as calm and composed as always, his dark coat flowing behind him like a shadow. "I've been waiting," he said, his voice soft but insistent. Leah didn't respond immediately. Her chest tightened as she stepped aside to let him in. The space felt smaller with him in it, his presence filling every corner of the room. She felt her pulse quicken. The energy within her, the one Talon said would unlock her true power, seemed to hum just below her skin, waiting for a signal, a command. "I'm ready," she said, the words coming out before she even realized she'd spoken them. It felt right. She didn't know how or why, but she knew in that moment that there was no turning back. She had to face this. Talon's amber eyes softened, a trace of approval flickering across his face. "Good," he murmured. "It's time to begin." He motioned for her to sit, and as she did, she felt the weight of his gaze on her, like he could see straight through her. The room seemed to shrink as he moved closer, his presence overwhelming but not unpleasant. He extended a hand, and without thinking, Leah placed her palm in his. "Close your eyes," Talon instructed, his voice low, gentle. "Focus on your breathing. Relax." Leah obeyed, her heart racing but her body somehow still. The air around her seemed to hum with energy, a subtle vibration that she couldn't explain. She tried to clear her mind, but the noise inside her head wouldn't stop. "What am I doing? Is this real?" Am I really going to unlock this power? Let go of your doubt. Talon's voice interrupted her thoughts. Trust in what you feel. You know this power is inside you. It's been with you all along. She nodded, though she wasn't sure she fully believed it. But Talon's voice seemed to anchor her, grounding her in the moment. Slowly, she began to feel a change, subtle at first, like a spark igniting somewhere deep inside her. Focus on that spark, Talon guided. Let it grow. Let it fill your body. Leah concentrated, focusing on the sensation, the warmth spreading from the center of her chest. It was faint, almost like a flicker of light, but as her breath deepened, the warmth grew stronger, more intense. She could feel it now, flowing through her veins, filling her up like liquid fire. Her fingers tingled with the sensation, and her skin seemed to hum in response. Good, Talon whispered. You're doing it. Let the energy flow. Don't fight it. She felt the power grow within her, and with it came a rush of memories, fragments of her past, moments she'd long forgotten, all flooding her mind at once. Her body trembled as if trying to absorb all of it, the sensations too much to process. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, and she found herself staring at Talon, his face just inches from hers. She gasped, unable to catch her breath. What's happening to me? She breathed, her voice barely audible. You're awakening, Talon replied, his voice low, full of quiet awe. You're unlocking what was always meant to be inside you. Leah stood, unable to contain the overwhelming sensation surging through her. The air around her seemed to crackle with energy, the room alive with the hum of raw power. She felt different, but also the same, as if she was finally aligning with something ancient, something deep within her that had been dormant for far too long. What do I do now? She asked, her voice shaking but firm. Talon stepped back, his eyes locked onto hers. Now, you learn to control it. The energy inside you is not just a gift. It's a responsibility. You must learn to harness it, to use it wisely. Leah nodded slowly, trying to steady her breathing. Her mind was still spinning with everything she'd just experienced. But there was no turning back now. She was part of something bigger than herself, something that she had only begun to understand. And whatever came next, she knew that Talon was right. She couldn't run from it. The room was silent for a moment, both of them standing there in the quiet intensity of the moment. Leah felt her heart pounding in her chest, her whole body still humming with the power that had just awakened inside her. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear: her life would never be the same again. Leah stood at the edge of the balcony, her eyes scanning the city below. The night had fallen heavy, the lights from the streets casting long shadows over the buildings. Everything felt surreal, like a dream that she couldn't wake from. The power that had surged through her only hours earlier was still alive within her, pulsing, thrumming under her skin. She wasn't sure what to make of it yet, but she could feel its weight, its promise. Talon was standing just behind her, his presence filling the space like a storm about to break. She didn't need to turn around and know he was there. She could feel him, just as she could feel the energy within her, swirling and constant, always waiting for her to reach out and control it. Leah, Talon's voice was a whisper, yet it carried with a force that made her heart skip. You're ready. Her hands gripped the railing tightly as she glanced down at the city below. Her city, the city that just weeks ago she had known so well. The city that now seemed like a distant memory. The reality she had known was fading, slipping away, replaced by something larger, something far beyond her comprehension. I don't know if I'm ready, Leah replied, her voice trembling, her thoughts a chaotic whirlwind. This power, everything you've told me, it's too much. You've always had it inside you, Talon said, his voice steady, reassuring. You just didn't know it. But now it's awakened. And with it, you can change everything. You can save this world. Leah turned to face him, the questions and doubts still lingering in her mind. But why me? Why is it me who has to do this? I'm just ordinary. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this power. I am scared. Talon took a step closer, his amber eyes locked onto hers. You're not ordinary. Not anymore. And the fear you feel, it's natural. It's part of the journey. But you've been chosen, Leah. Chosen for something greater than you ever imagined. And now, you have to trust in that. She swallowed hard, her throat tight. I've trusted you this far. But what if I can't control it? What if I mess up? Talon's gaze softened, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of something human in him. Something tender, almost comforting. You will learn. I'm here to guide you. You're not alone in this. Leah closed her eyes for a moment, trying to steady her racing heartbeat. The weight of the decision was crushing, the enormity of it all pressing down on her chest. But deep inside, she knew something had already changed. She wasn't the same person she had been before. She was part of something bigger now, something beyond herself. And there was no going back. I'm scared, she admitted softly, the words spilling from her before she could stop them. I don't know how to do this. I don't even know where to start. Talon reached out, his fingers brushing against her cheek, the touch gentle but electric. You start by believing in yourself. The power is already inside you. You just need to accept it. Once you do, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. Leah's eyes fluttered open, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe him. She had to. She couldn't keep running from this, from the truth that had been laid before her. What do I do now? She whispered, the words barely escaping her lips. Talon smiled, the expression softening his features. Now we begin. He took a step back and raised his hand, and Leah could feel the air around them shift, the energy humming in response. Let it flow, he said, his voice like a low chant. Let the power inside you rise. Leah closed her eyes again, letting her breath steady. She felt the energy surge, pushing up from deep within, like an untamed force, wild and uncontrollable. Her hands trembled as the power flowed through her, and for the first time, she understood what it meant to truly feel it. The weight of it, the responsibility, it was all hers. And yet, as she opened her eyes and looked at Talon, she realized something else. She wasn't alone anymore. The energy inside her wasn't just hers to bear. It was a part of something larger, a connection, something unspoken and deep. Talon wasn't just a guide. He was a part of her journey, and she was a part of his. Together, they would face what was coming. What happens next? She asked, her voice steady, though her heart still raced. Talon's expression darkened, and for a moment, she saw the weight of his own fear. We prepare. The time for waiting is over. The collapse is coming, and we have no more time to waste. But with your power, we have a chance. Leah nodded, feeling the weight of his words sink in. The world she knew was gone, replaced by this new reality, a reality that was as terrifying as it was exhilarating. But as the power surged through her, she realized something profound. She wasn't just the key, she was the hope. And for the first time, Leah understood what it meant to truly be ready. Here is the story ends. If you enjoyed and want to watch more thrilling sci-fi adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Dive into epic battles, explore distant galaxies, and join brave heroes as they fight for survival against impossible odds. Let us know in comments if you want next chapters to publish soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of the journey. Together, we'll keep the last light burning. Subscribe now and let the adventure continue.